Hello, B2B. How are we doing? Hopefully we're rolling. Going on my walk, and I had something cool I just got done talking about. I want to share it with you guys. How do you move forward? That's what I called it. Taking baby steps. Take a baby step. So I heard this story at some point. And we've heard it all before, but it's something we've probably done with our kids. This gentleman was telling about he had this in his mind's eye, he had this thing happen, vision, dream. I'm not really sure, whatever. But he was in heaven, and he was like in a living room setting with God, his father. And anyhow, he was playing ball. And you know, when you play ball as a little kid, you sit down and put your legs out, right? And you roll the ball. And as you roll the ball, he said as he's rolling the ball to the father, he's really kind. You know, he didn't, maybe we've all done that one too. We rolled the ball back, and he said, God grabbed the ball, and he looked at him and he said, are you afraid to make a mistake? And in the same motion, there was a crystal vase on a marble setting there. God went, boop, knocked it off. He said the vase crashed on the marble floor to a million pieces. And then God went, grabbed it, and went, whoop, set it right back on there. And the vase was whole. And he said to the guy, there's not a mistake big enough you'll make my grace can't fix. And I love that. Think about that. Whether our mistakes are intentional, unintentional, God's grace abounds. Scripture says where sin abounded, grace does much more. Now, I've raised 3 kids, and I had the absolute joy of watching each one take the first steps. Baby steps. So cool. You know, they start out crawling, doing their little thing, and then you get them up on the coffee table, and they're holding themselves, and occasionally let go of the coffee table and balance themselves real quick. Like, we love it. But there comes a point where you woo them. Come on, take your first step. And you see them look at you, and they're trusting you to take that first step because you're there. Safe environment. They trust that it's okay to take this step. Well, you'll see what happens when you have to walk, you have to lean forward first to get the step to go. You have to take motion forward. And I've heard this said a couple times too, reiterating this from other people. Walking is controlled falling. Walking is controlled falling. So actually, when we're walking, we're actually falling forward, but we're learning to catch ourselves, and we call it walking. They're called baby steps when we first start out. And so when we get into an environment, whether at home, on B2B, at work, and we're learning new things, whether it could be how to operate with this new thoughts, skills, and talents, and using gifts, or a new area of character growth. Now, what I've seen happen, and I was a football coach for years, and I've made my share of mistakes coaching people as they try new things, and I've made a lot of progress learning how to coach people. So they're not afraid to fail. Fear of failure keeps people from taking their baby step forward in whatever they sense God is asking them to do. So I want to walk through that thought. If we're in, like on B2B, we have some members that are taking new steps to try to serve on this platform and other platforms, and it's scary. Maybe you're starting a new Bible study, you're reading scripture for the first time in front of people, praying in front of someone. These are spiritual things. Taking a step to try to read the Bible and understand it. But we're going to start to fall forward, and we're going to take those steps. Now, as we know, most of the time, every kid that learns to take these steps intentionally falls down because they get scared, or just falls down because they're not used to walking. So, on this platform, I want to encourage people to take steps wherever they're at, their work, their job, their relationships. God has given you talents. Now, if you fear failure, things are going to get bad. So when I was coaching football, I would do a lot of drills with the kids and learn where their skill sets were. I'd listen to them, and every one of them, except maybe 3 or 4, thought they could be the quarterback. There's only one quarterback at a time on the field. So I said, you guys, do you want to be on the field? You might have to learn to play a different position. And so as we go through the drills and I saw their skill sets, I would try to push a lot of encouragement on them. Like, hey, did that feel good? Was that easier than maybe throwing a football? Like, yeah. So we put people in positions where we know they're probably going to have a little bit more success as they exercise a gift, a new skill, whatever that is. So just like faith, taking a step of faith has parameters. And I'm going to try to, I don't have Hill here or Leonard. So let's say we have the sides of the screen here as like faith level. And this is your faith scale. And you have faith this far over on this side, and you're about to take a risk on something. And you want to make sure that risk is within your faith. Otherwise, it gets way too crazy and you'll never do it. So with that said, I want to make sure that when anyone is around me and they're taking a step of faith to do something, that we're going to encourage them. And if they fall, we pick them up. I don't want to put people back on the shelf. Oh, you really good try. That was a pretty bad mistake. How about you go sit down and quit walking? So, can we allow people to make mistakes? Well, at what level do we start to say, hey, that mistake's too much? I get that too. So take the baby step. The Lord is probably encouraging you to do things and it's way out of your comfort zone, but it's within your faith zone. And yet you got to find out where that risk level is in your faith zone so you can take some steps forward to start to develop some of the skills, some of the character traits that you want to develop in you. It's fun. That's the joy. Because you will fail forward just like we fall forward walking. It's no different. It's the same thing that we're doing here. So if you have any other things you guys want to add in the comments to build on this topic, this is a good, just a good little story set here to have conversations with people at home as you're encouraging each other to do certain things, whatever that looks like. But let's make sure that when someone falls, we're not going to step on their neck and keep them down. Acknowledge a failure is not a bad thing. I think most of the things I've learned really good is because I failed so bad at them. And so go back to the vase. There is not a big enough failure I can make. God's grace can't fix. Love you guys. Take care of each other. Pray for one another.